What exactly did Reich mean by this? Reich believed that the therapist should avoid any significant interventions or interpretations until the client's resistances had fully manifested and been addressed. If the therapist offers an interpretation or an intervention before dissolving these resistances, the client might accept it for the other reasons, like positive transference, rather than through genuine insight that would lead to change. Moreover, the absence of resistance could indicate that the client is developing a latent, concealed resistance, which Reich considered the most dangerous form. The analyst, or therapist, should wait for the resistance to emerge and, once it is fully understood, offer an interpretation of it. The therapist can then draw the client's attention to the resistance, explore the underlying mechanisms driving it, and identify the material that the resistance is protecting against. The timing of such an intervention depends largely on the therapist's level of experience. A more experienced therapist might notice subtle cues early on, whereas a beginner may need more overt signals to grasp the same dynamic. For instance, in the aforementioned case, a subtle cue might be a brief chuckle that escapes from a client whose issues suggest the presence of a narcissistic defense. It's always the therapist's responsibility to detect resistance and bring it into the open. Expecting the client to voluntarily admit that they are internally laughing at the therapy, or at you, or that they are being excessively polite to win your approval is unrealistic. It is the therapist who must uncover these dynamics. According to Reich, the better a client is at concealing their resistance, the more skilled the therapist must be at uncovering it as the therapy progresses. For him, resistance was a key factor that separated successful therapy from unsuccessful therapy, or the therapy that only progressed by chance. Moreover, Reich went a step further and asked a crucial question, as he began to focus more on resistance. Rather than rushing to follow standard methodology, he naturally questioned why clients develop specific defenses in the first place. To return to a previous example, why would a client downplay everything with cynical inner laughter, forming what he called a narcissistic defense? The answer, of course, lies in early formative experiences and the circumstances that shape the client's personality. At this point, Reich made a pivotal connection. Since resistance emanates from the structure of personality, we can say that the client's resistance is the very structure of their personality. Resistance does not merely arise within personality, but is inseparable from its very structure. In other words, personality itself is the structure of resistance. To demonstrate these key ideas, I'll draw on a case study from Reich's writing in which he illustrates the breakdown of narcissistic defense. While this isn't necessarily how we would approach things today, studying his method is incredibly valuable for understanding how personality is constructed and how it functions. We'll use the case to extract general principles and create a blueprint that will serve us as a working model.